Coming up, an Independence, Kansas man faces charges after threatening the President of the United States.
A mild Tuesday start to begin with, but we've got a winter storm warning in inches. That's right, that's plural. Inches of snow on the way. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And beekeeping is generating a buzz in the 4 states as a local group helps others learn more about the benefits of this unbelievable hobby.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, this winter storm that's a brewing. Let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Happens every year, Tanya. Usually around the Christmas season, where I'll be out at the grocery store and someone will be like, man, it has been a long time since we had like a legitimate snow, like a good snow, inches and inches of snow. Careful what you wish for, folks. Mild Tuesday start. I mean, it's absolutely delightful outside right now. 55 in Joplin. Let's roll 50 in Independence and Neodesha. 51 in Monette, and a little light cloud cover. No precipitation to speak of. We're going to stay on the dry side here till really late morning, early afternoon hours, and a weather trend that's still temperature-wise not too bad. We really won't see the cold front begin to kick in until after sunset. But once we do, the rain is going to transition into number 1, the freezing rain, number 2, a whole bunch of snow, and number 3, even some sleet. And the big thing to remember is just a little bit of sleet equals about the accumulation of several inches of snow. So keep that in mind when we talk about these accumulation numbers. Winter storm warning upgraded from the watch that we had yesterday. The dark blue that you see for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas still considered the watch, but everybody's going to be in the midst of it. So here we roll. First we begin with the rain, light and scattered up to the north. Going to take a while for it to get down to the south, but then as we get into Tuesday night, we see the harder rain right along I-44 and the transitional period up to the north. For late Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, there's the freezing rain and the sleet indicated in the pink, and the snow up to the north. Now it begins to steadily fall, and when it begins to steadily fall, it doesn't want to give up anytime soon. Carries us all the way through Wednesday morning. The snow remains, transitions into mostly snow all the way down to the interstate. And then look at this timeline. There's round 1. Think about it like a double barrel action right here. There's round 1. Give us a little break. We all back off. We go, oh, thank goodness we're done with that. Then we just keep on rolling through all the way into Thursday. And that's why we've got the alert day lasting for the winter storm warning for Wednesday and Thursday overnight lows. 14 and 7. Tanya, we'll talk about our accumulation numbers here in just a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and throw up about, say, 7 to 8 inches combo of snow and sleet in the Joplin-Pittsburgh area.
Ooh, 7 to 8 inches. Thanks, Michael. An Independence, Kansas man is in custody in Maryland, charged with threatening President Biden. According to a court filing, Scott Merriman made threats to the president in several forms, including a phone call to the White House operator, as well as Facebook posts that are laced with biblical imagery and references to the end of times. The filing says in a telephone interview with a U.S. Secret Service agent, Merriman said that God told him to go to Washington to, quote, lop the head of the serpent in the heart of the nation. In a Facebook post, Merriman said, quote, I believe Joe Biden is the Antichrist now, and he will suffer a fatal head wound. I'll deal that blow in Christ's name. Former Mayor Pro Tem of Purcell, Missouri, admits to stealing from the city and avoids jail. In a deal with prosecutors, Nancy Wilson pleads guilty to misdemeanor stealing, gets 2 years unsupervised probation. Authorities had originally charged Wilson with felony stealing for writing checks from the city and depositing them in her own bank account in March and April of last year. She has to repay more than $2,500 to the city. A local hospital opens once again in Bourbon County, Kansas, which means people living there will have access to a hospital closer to them. Representatives from Noble Health and the county yesterday announced they will be opening the Bourbon County Community Hospital. Hospital will be in the building of the old Mercy Hospital, Fort Scott, that closed in 2018. Officials say a design firm is working on restoring the building, which will take several months.
Bourbon County Community Hospital is going to be everything that the citizens want it to be. There were several months of one-on-one meetings between Noble Health and individuals within this community, both business leaders, community leaders, people who used to work for Mercy.
Hospital is located off of Highway 69 on the south side of Fort Scott. Oklahoma hospitals are calling in the military for help fighting COVID-19. As Oklahoma continues to handle full emergency departments and shortfalls in staffing, the federal government is sending military medical teams to OU Health and Integris Hospitals, in the Oklahoma City area. Officials say the help there could funnel down to our region.
That says a lot to someone to know that, okay, it may not be so easy for me today. It may not fix my problem, but someone is trying to help us out.
Military teams will be made up of physicians, nurses, and others. Well, the Chiefs may not be going to the Super Bowl, but students from Allen County Community College, located in Iola, have a chance to go to the game. The school's Student Senate yesterday hosted its annual Red Cross Blood Drive, and those who donated were entered into a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles on February 13th.
I've given blood. This is my third time, and I always want to do it just so I can help people out who need it, because I would, say I was in a situation, if I needed it, I would hope that people would donate. So, just want to help people out.
Super Bowl tickets are provided courtesy of the Red Cross. Officials with the Joplin School District announced plans to begin work on a new 5-year strategic plan for the district. The company, Opinion Research Specialist out of Springfield, is collecting input about what community members would like to see. That input comes in the form of interviews with students, graduates, teachers, and parents, as well as comments from people through an online program.
The thing that is really on everybody's mind right now is kind of that mental health component that has been impacted by COVID. That means, the stress that we've all been under the last few years is showing up in various forms. And I think there is really an acute awareness that that's something that needs to be taken in consideration.
Officials say the final draft of the strategic plan will be presented to the school board in April or May. Well, beekeeping is getting some buzz generated around it as the Joplin Area Beekeepers Association teach some new beekeepers the basics of the trade. The group hosted a class to help beginners learn things like the ins and outs of a hive, the real job of the queen, proper clothing, and tools for beekeeping. That's important. Organizers say it's a great chance to learn about the excitement of getting to know bees.
I think just having the opportunity to work outside. So for my husband and I, this is a job that we get to do together. We get the opportunity to be outdoors, to really feel a connection with nature and to really better understand the insects that we're working with. And it's just it's a lot of fun.
Beekeepers Association is hosting these classes every Monday through the month of February at the Joplin Greenhouse and Garden Center. Crowder College kicks off the new semester with a game night. Rough Rider Esports and Crowder College Project now hosted the Press Start Game Night. Featured pizza, drinks, and some popular games.
It's really nice to see students that haven't been able to find their niche find a home in our program, and it's been great to see them succeed and have people they can go to when they're having problems, and have someone like me that they can go to when they don't understand, like, oh, I need a transcript, or I'm trying to transfer, or I'm having trouble in this class.
The event was also a chance for students to get information about the esports team and scholarship opportunities. It's 5:07.
Delightful Tuesday morning so far. Temperatures in the mid-50s. You walk outside right now, it feels just absolutely perfect. Look at the top left-hand corner. You can tell where the color contour begins to change a little bit. We're going to start with rain. That will transition. It'll rain for the afternoon and nighttime hour. It'll stay as rain, with everything being so warm as it is right now. Then as we get later tonight into Wednesday morning, we see the transition. Remember that pink, that we're going to have some serious travel impacts for Wednesday morning because how early it's going to start. We'll get that glaze of ice out there on the roads, transition that over to snow, and this is the one that everybody's been waiting for here. We'll do our snow accumulations here in just a little bit. I'm not trying to belabor that point. I'm just trying to fine tune it a little bit. But anyway, I'm thinking about, let's go 6 to 8 in the Pittsburgh Joplin area. Also, you got to remember sleet amounts do affect those totals. But we'll try to nail that down here a little bit, and I'll run that for you after sports. I promise you that.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Pittsburgh Purple Dragons lose their head coach. He announces he's stepping down after 11 seasons. Plus, the Olympics are right around the corner and the countdown is on for the games. However, there may be a few hiccups due to COVID-19. We'll explain. And with cold temperatures around the corner in the 4 states, if you ordered a COVID-19 at-home test, it's important to bring it inside. We'll tell you why. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
We know you.
Pittsburgh High School will have a new head football coach when next season rolls around in the fall. Tom Nicholson announcing his resignation yesterday as leader of the Purple Dragons football program. Nicholson spent 21 years at Pittsburgh High School, including the last 11 as his head coach. And in those 11 years, led the Purple Dragons to a 71-36 overall record. 6-4 last fall, won a playoff game for the 4th time in 5 years. Coach Tom saying it was a difficult decision, and after 21 years, it's going to be a little different not being on the sideline come fall.
It'll definitely be new. I've never not coached since the time I graduated high school. I've done this since I was 18. Definitely wasn't an easy decision. Pittsburgh's home. Our family loves it here. My kids go here, but as far as from a personal and professional standpoint, being a head coach, it's an all-consuming job, and it's something I've loved every minute of. But after 21 years, you know, it's 10 as an assistant and 11 as a head coach. It can wear on you, and I just feel like our kids deserve somebody who can commit every ounce of energy to them, and I just wasn't sure I could give that to them anymore like they need and deserve. So I thought this was the best time for me and my family to step away, and for the program to bring a new voice in.
And speaking of professionalism, and I say this for sports reporters across the 4 states, and I say this just for people, not even in a sports reporter capacity, you are not going to run into a nicer, kinder coach, whether or not you had a camera in your hand or not. So congratulations to Coach Tom, and wish you the best in your future endeavors, fair sir. On to high school basketball, where the College Junction girls are 14-5 this season, currently ranked 6th in the state in Class 5. CJ's won 3 games in a row after getting a road win at Glendale last Thursday. The Bulldogs back at home trying to push their win streak to 4 against COC rival Neosho. Coming off the steal, there's Destiny Berge. Needs only one hand to finish on the other end. Berge and Hallie Shorter, they were on fire early. Shorter, pair of threes from the left side. Shorter had 6 in the first quarter alone. Back to Berge. Check out the step and the scoop. She had 9 in the first. 13 for the game. Second quarter, Becklin Garrett for Neosho. Lines up, squares up, hits 3. First bucket of the game for the Wildcats. Garrett had 12, but it's 30-9 Bulldogs at the break. Second half, Kylie Scott with the finish. She had 9 points as well. Chloe Burke with 10. All CJ from there on out. Bulldogs win it 53-28. It was also opening night of the Seneca girls basketball tournament. 2 games on the docket, beginning with McDonald County taking on Purdy. Now the Mustangs trying to bounce back, avoid a 3-game losing streak after falling to rival Neosho last time out. Mustangs get going early with Samara Smith open in the corner for the 3. Smith had 21 points last night. Matt County in transition. Check out Anna Clarkson. Unselfish play to Carly Cooper. Mustangs start to run away with it in the third. Reagan Myrick showing off the handles. Will find the open space, get to the rim, and score. Matt County rolls 64-14, back in action Friday in Seneca, where they'll play Aurora. The other game last night, a pair of Big 8 teams. You had tournament host Seneca facing Monette. We'll start it off in the first quarter. Aaliyah Grosjean comes up with the turnover for Seneca. Nobody steps up. Don't leave Grosjean open. Hits the 3. A few minutes later, Samara Mittig. She finds an open spot on the floor, takes the open 3. Seneca jumps out to a 24-2 lead. Stay on this end of the floor with Zoe Dodson. She gets the jumper to go down, and Indians just starting to pull away quickly. Back to Aaliyah Grosjean. Watch her manage her way through traffic for the finish. She had 26 points last night. Indians roll by Monette. Final score 66-32. Missouri Southern freshman Lacey Stokes, your MIAA Women's Basketball Player of the Week, as Stokes helped the Lions go 2-0 last week, posting 16.5 points, 8.5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game against Rogers State and Northeastern State. She's a Mount Vernon product, leads the league in assists and steals, and the second time this season she's earned Weekly Player of the Week honors. Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs fell short of their third straight Super Bowl appearance over the weekend, falling to the Cincinnati Bengals 27-24 in overtime in the AFC Championship game. KC dominated the first half, but the second half, well, that was a completely different story, as the Chiefs were up 21-10 at halftime. But the Bengals outscored them 17-3 in the second half and overtime. In fact, the Chiefs' lone 3 points coming at the very end of regulation. After a near-perfect first half, Patrick Mahomes. Rough time rest of the way against that Bengal defense. In the second half and overtime, Mahomes just 8 for 18, 55 yards, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, and no touchdowns.
There's a few misreads here and there. There was guys that were open, and I didn't hit at the right time, or I passed up on a sudden shorter that I went for something. I wanted to get something deeper down the field. And when you're playing a good team and you don't hit what's there, and you try to get a little bit more than what's necessary, you kind of bite you in the butt, I guess you would say. I mean, it's something that we were playing so well in the first half. In the second half, we were just off a tick, and that's all it takes to lose a football game.
Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, protests in Canada continue as truckers refuse to move until mandates are dropped. Canada's Prime Minister is having none of it. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
PSU's Bicknell Family Center for the Arts.
Pretty warm Tuesday morning start. We're looking at temperatures right now already in the 50s. This is about 20 to 25 degrees warmer than what we were at this point yesterday. So enjoy this. Well, I'll ask because we know we got the changes that coming. 55 over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Humidity already rising up to 80%. An idea that precipitable water beginning to make its way in from the south, and then the cold air penetrating down from the north as the ridge of the jet stream now moves all the way over the Great Lakes. Skywatch Storm Tracker, no worries so far, really won't present themselves until, say late morning, early afternoon. And when we do, hey, we start as rain with those warm temps. But with the winter storm warning, an indicator that things are going to drastically change. So as we get to Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, we start to see the transition line there in the pink. That indicates freezing rain and sleet. Takes us into early Wednesday morning. There will be major travel concerns for Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. And then watch the snow continue to roll through all from Wednesday night into Thursday. And so here's where we're going to go with our forecasted accumulation numbers in between about, say, 6 to 8 in that Pittsburgh Joplin area. Remember that also, too, does take into account the sleet accumulation, and you could be looking at 9 to 10 inches up there in the northern portion of the 4 states. And then everything just sticks around because it's going to be so frigid cold. Speaking of being frigid cold, 3 days to go before the Winter Olympics kick off in Beijing, China, and that's the subject of our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Instant Poll. And China's reporting a spike in COVID-19 cases. Infections being reported inside the Olympic bubble, making some athletes nervous. Tina Kraus has the latest. Tina stayed back in London.
Athletes are in a race to stay clear of COVID, with dozens of cases reported in the tightly controlled Olympic bubble designed to keep competitors safe.
You're just so stressed about, making sure you're as safe as you can be.
Massachusetts native Chris Masder, who won Team USA its first ever Olympic medal in singles luge in 2018, hopes COVID won't destroy his dreams of gold this time around.
It would be a tragedy. And so that's always kind of on your mind, and it is stressful.
Some 3,000 athletes from across the world will take part in the Winter Games. They'll have to wear masks and be tested daily for the virus. Florida bobsledder Josh Williamson hadn't even made it to Beijing when he got a positive test, posting on Instagram he delayed his flight but still hopes to compete. Beijing has reported its highest number of COVID-19 cases in 18 months, less than a week before the Games begin. After 20 more cases hit the capital, officials locked down neighborhoods and tested residents. Athletes say they're doing their best to stay focused.
every athlete that's competing here, I think, is obviously put a lot of effort into staying as safe as they can.
So when the time comes to compete, COVID won't stand a chance. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Our question for you this morning: what Olympic events are you most excited about? We'll catch up with some of your results here a little bit later in the show. Healthwatch is next.
Hello and welcome to the Finance Files with Our Best Bank.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, as millions of Americans are starting to get their free at-home COVID-19 test kits in the mail, experts are warning about leaving the test out in the cold. Tricia McCauley tells us how winter weather could impact the accuracy of your results.
It's as simple as logging online, entering your address, and submitting your free order of 4 at-home COVID-19 tests. I placed my order on January 18th. The kit arrived 9 days later.
Antigen tests are really a public health tool to help reduce the spread of disease. And it really empowers individuals and communities to protect themselves, their families, and their entire community.
Health experts are warning if you leave your COVID-19 test kits in your mailbox for a couple days when it's really cold, they may no longer be useful. These at-home test kits have to be kept between 36 and 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and we've seen temperatures much lower than that here in West Michigan in just the last week. A study by the National Institutes of Health says if temperatures are above or below that range, it could affect the accuracy of the test.
If they had been out in the cold, then just make sure that before performing the test that they come back up to room temperature.
Health experts say if left outside too long, the liquid for the test could freeze and would be no good. The FDA says in a statement test performance may be impacted if the test is used while it is still cold, such as being used outdoors in freezing temperatures. You should bring your package inside your home and leave it unopened at room temperature for at least 2 hours before opening it. The U.S. Postal Service provides a tracking number for your kit so you don't leave them outside in the cold.
While these antigen tests are helping to expand testing nationwide, some health leaders say COVID-19 test availability is still an issue in schools and the workplace. If the test kits sit in the mailbox overnight or for more than a day in temperatures that fall below 36 degrees, some could go to waste. So keep an eye out for them. A new study is trying to show the harsh reality of deadly drug overdoses in teenagers by equating it to the years lost off their lives. Researchers say from 2015 to 2019, teens and preteens in the U.S. lost about 200,000 years of life. It expanded to include people up to 24 years old, and 1.25 million years of life was lost. The calculations were made by subtracting the average life expectancy with the age of death. The study, published in the journal JAMA Pediatrics, analyzed data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Unintentional overdoses are a growing problem in the U.S. According to the National Institutes of Health, the number of deaths has increased in recent years. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
At U.S. Cellular, we're local.
Coming up, an Independence, Kansas man faces charges after threatening the President of the United States.
We take a look at these numbers on a Tuesday morning, and hard to believe that eventually we're going to be talking about these numbers by the time we get to Thursday. We'll have a look at our snow accumulation amounts from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And beekeeping is generating a buzz in the 4 states as a local group helps others learn more about the benefits of this unbelievable hobby.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. I like to call it the calm before the storm. Let's go straight to Mike Lyslip.
It's great outside.
It
I mean,
is.
you walk outside right now and you're like, can we bottle this for...
I turned my heater off.
This is great. and I look at Tanya, like how we just started the show. I look at these numbers and I'd say, can we just have this for the entire month of February?
Wouldn't that be great?
And then I look at these numbers and I go, calm, Doug. Don't, if you see me at like Walmart today, pick on Doug. Let's pick on him. Anyway, yeah, here's what we're looking at. And we're in the Joplin, Pittsburgh area, probably 6 to 8. Now, you have to remember, this is an accumulation of sleet and snow. And oftentimes, a small amount of sleet actually equals a large amount of snow. And so just because, you see 5 to 8, don't expect snow up to your hip or anything like that. Because that does take into account that sleet. But that's impressive numbers. We'll do a little historical background as far as the last time we got that amount. Winter storm warnings in effect, of course, for our counties in pink. Those have been upgraded since yesterday where we had the winter storm watches. Now, we are still, the difference between the blue and the pink throughout northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, those are still considered watches, but 6 1/2 dozen at this point because we know everybody is going to be in the midst of it. Here's the 7-day forecast. It'll really kick in, say about, this afternoon and start with rain. But as far as our timing goes, let's break it down timing-wise because what's problematic is the travel aspect of it all and the fact that it's going to be on us for early tomorrow morning. And what that does is our roads are going to glaze over with ice while the majority of the 4 states is asleep. And so I always worry about that. And then there we go. Look at that, 1:30 is where we see the majority of the freezing rain and the sleet coming in. Already got the snow up to the north. So that is going to affect tomorrow's travel. And then even after that, look at this. More snow just rolls in throughout Wednesday night into Thursday.
Yeah, plan ahead now.
Plan accordingly.
I bet the stores are going to be really busy today.
They were yesterday.
Like
so,
ice melt, snow shovels, all that stuff.
The weather guy, because he wanted lemons for his iced tea, decided to stop on the way home yesterday.
Yeah.
Took one look at the parking lot and went, poof, this can wait.
Yeah. Because you knew you'd walk in there and they'd all yell at you.
Did you notice me deflecting to Doug though? Right.
Hey, I get it too. I get it too.
Deflect toward Tanya and Doug, folks.
And I'll be like, hey, I don't do the weather.
I just want lemons for my iced tea.
I just pay attention, which everyone at home should do too. Pay attention and...
So true story, and I know I'm burning the clock. I apologize, control room. True story. I texted a friend of mine yesterday who's been a little under the weather to see if they need anything with what's coming up. The reply text is, there's going to be bad weather. At which point I just responded, I swear I just talk to air sometimes.
Just know I'm listening.
I know, and I appreciate that. That's what made me think of that.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the former mayor of Purcell, Missouri admits to stealing from the city but avoids jail time because of it. In a deal with prosecutors, Nancy Wilson pleads guilty to misdemeanor stealing and gets 2 years unsupervised probation. Authorities had originally charged Wilson with felony stealing for writing checks from the city and depositing them in her own bank account in March and April of last year. She has to repay more than $2,500 to the city. An Independence, Kansas man is in custody in Maryland, charged with threatening President Biden. According to a court filing, Scott Merriman made threats to the president in several forms, including a phone call to the White House operator, as well as Facebook posts that are laced with biblical imagery and references to the end of times. The filing says in a telephone interview with a U.S. Secret Service agent, Merriman said that God told him to lop the head of the serpent in the heart of the nation. In a Facebook post, Merriman said, quote, I believe Joe Biden is the Antichrist now, and he will suffer a fatal head wound. I'll deal that blow in Christ's name. Well, the Joplin Area Beekeepers Association on Monday taught some beginner beekeepers the basics of the trade. The group hosted a class to help beginners learn things like the ins and outs of a hive, the real job of the queen, and proper clothing and tools for beekeeping. Organizers say it's a great chance to learn about the excitement of getting to know bees.
I think just having the opportunity to work outside. So for my husband and I, this is a job that we get to do together. We get the opportunity to be outdoors, to really feel a connection with nature and to really better understand the insects that we're working with. And it's just really, it's a lot of fun.
The Beekeepers Association is hosting these classes every Monday through the month of February at the Joplin Greenhouse and Garden Center. Well, the Chiefs aren't going to the Super Bowl. Darn it. But students at Allen County Community College in Iola have a chance to go to the game. The school's Student Senate on Monday hosted its annual Red Cross Blood Drive. Those who donated were entered into a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles on February 13th.
They did not. I actually don't watch football, so I don't know anything about the Super Bowl. I just know the Chiefs ain't going, so.
And so with the blood drive and the shortage, I wanted to make sure that we communicate that more. And so we're able to get more people to come here, which is what happened because we filled up all of our spots.
All right, well, the Super Bowl tickets are provided courtesy of the Red Cross. Let's go over to Michael for something to talk about.
Cool right there. Not only save a life, but also maybe get a trip to LA. That's hard to beat. All right, we've got the Olympics coming up in Beijing, China. Our question for you this morning, if there's a certain sport you're more excited for than the others. Right now, figure skating chimes in with 22%. I should mention other is number one at 34%. Of the specific sports listed, we've got figure skating at 22%. Then it even split between skiing, bobsledding, and I'll tell you what, I have grown to fall in love with women's ice hockey during the Olympics. It was so much fun, especially the U.S.-Canada matchups. You can take part each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or going to our Facebook site. Temperatures in the 50s right now, hard to beat. It's absolutely beautiful. First we'll go rain for the afternoon, then we'll go snow, freezing rain for tonight into early Wednesday morning. Then we'll go just straight snow for pretty much all day Wednesday.
That's.
We haven't talked about the temperatures, Tanya.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's single digit overnight.
Let's not mention this.
Yeah.
That's 3. Ooh. All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, Barbara Lee, or the Conscience of Congress, gets her own documentary that also helps kick off Black History Month. Plus, the resistance in Myanmar continues as the country continues to collapse after the military takeover. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
American Family Insurance.
Topping World Watch. In Canada, it started out as a cross-country truckers' protest against COVID-19 vaccine mandates, but it turned into a larger protest and a blockade of the capital city of Ottawa by Canadians fed up with COVID-19 restrictions. On Monday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had harsh words for some of the protesters. Paula Newton has more.
Protesters from Canada's so-called Freedom Convoy are imposing a lockdown of their own. Ottawa, the country's capital, gridlocked. For days now, hundreds of rigs and cars lining city streets, with protesters camped out in front of Parliament and beyond. With passion and anger, they are demanding vaccine and mask mandates be dropped and life return to pre-pandemic normal. They say they're not budging until that happens.
I'm staying. I'm not leaving until the mandates are gone.
This convoy is all about freedom. It's not only with the truck drivers, it's actually for every single person. You, me, buddy down the road, it doesn't matter. It's all about your free choice.
This started as a cross-country truckers' protest by those against vaccine mandates imposed in January in both Canada and by the Biden administration. But it gained a following from a vocal minority of Canadians fed up with COVID restrictions.
We should not be mandated to take vaccines. Any medical vaccine, whatever, it should be a personal choice.
That kind of sentiment gave way to this standoff now in Ottawa.
There's a small minority that feel that they can, shut down a city or try to take over a government. It's just a bit bizarre, to put it mildly.
While police said protests have been largely peaceful, there have been a handful of disturbing displays of hate symbols, incidents of vandalism, and harassment.
Get out of here! We don't want you here!
People stomping on the nation's war memorial, reports of retail workers and residents being harassed, even at a soup kitchen. Ottawa police say they are investigating the incidents. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's shocked and disgusted.
I want to be very clear. We are not intimidated by those who hurl insults and abuse at small business workers and steal food from the homeless. We won't give in to those who fly racist flags. We won't cave to those who engage in vandalism or dishonor the memory of our veterans.
Authorities say protesters intend to stay in place through the week. Meanwhile, Trudeau announced Monday that he and 2 of his children tested positive for COVID-19. As a result, the Prime Minister and his family are quarantining at an undisclosed location. After 1 year of military rule in Myanmar, millions of people are resisting a return to repression and isolation. Last February, military leader Min Aung Hlaing seized control of Myanmar in a coup that upturned any hope the country of 55 million people would become a functioning democracy under former leader Aung San Suu Kyi. After ordering a brutal crackdown on anti-coup protests, the junta chief and self-appointed prime minister is attempting to bring an unwilling population under his control as problems plaguing the country become more acute. Millions are unemployed, food and fuel prices are surging, poverty is rising, and the country's education, COVID-hit healthcare, and banking sectors are verging on collapse, raising questions about what the takeover has achieved 1 year in. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. An Independence, Kansas man is in custody in Maryland, charged with threatening President Biden. According to a court filing, Scott Merriman made threats to the president in several forms, including a phone call to the White House operator, as well as Facebook posts that are laced with biblical imagery and references to the end of times. Filing says in a telephone interview with a U.S. Secret Service agent, Merriman said that God told him to go to Washington to, quote, lop the head of the serpent in the heart of the nation. In a Facebook post, Merriman said, quote, I believe Joe Biden is the Antichrist now, and he will suffer a fatal head wound. I'll deal that blow in Christ's name. The former mayor pro tem of Purcell, Missouri, admits to stealing from the city and avoids jail. In a deal with prosecutors, Nancy Wilson pleads guilty to misdemeanor stealing and gets 2 years unsupervised probation. Authorities had originally charged Wilson with felony stealing for writing checks from the city and depositing them in her own bank account in March and April of last year. She has to repay more than $2,500 to the city. Having access to a local hospital for the people of Bourbon County is within their reach once more. Representatives from Noble Health and the county Monday announced they're opening the Bourbon County Community Hospital. The hospital will be in the building of the old Mercy Hospital, Fort Scott, that closed in 2018. Officials say a design firm is working on restoring the building, which will take several months. And officials with the Joplin School District announced plans to begin work on a new 5-year strategic plan for the district. Company Opinion Research Specialist out of Springfield is collecting input about what community members would like to see. That input comes in the form of interviews with students, graduates, teachers, and parents, as well as comments from people through an online program. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Hard to beat these Tuesday morning temps as we find ourselves in the 50s for the most part, but remember, there's a reason that we are in the middle of a winter storm warning. It begins with rain later on this afternoon. The rain turns into, the important part is the freezing rain and the sleet that we see there in the pink. Cold temps drop in. I'm going to get icy roads for Wednesday morning, and then we're going to follow that up with inches, yes, that's plural, inches of snow that'll last all the way into Thursday. And look at those overnight lows, single digits. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
A U.S. representative who's been called both a traitor and the conscience of the Congress is the subject of a documentary. David Daniel talked with her about the film.
I was a student at Mills College as a young mother on welfare with 2 kids who's working in the community with the Black Panther Party, making sure people have something to eat. Social justice, that's always been just part of who I am.
Barbara Lee, Speaking Truth to Power, looks at the life and career of the Congresswoman from California's East Bay.
This bill is really an essential step in correcting the injustices of the failed war on drugs, namely the racial disparities in marijuana arrests and incarceration.
A host of current and former colleagues eagerly spoke with director Abby Ginsburg for the film, but Lee was more reluctant.
Abby Ginsburg approached me many times. She's a wonderful filmmaker, first of all, but also she's very persistent. Where 98% of my life is public, and I have to accept that because this is what I want to do in terms of public service. But Lord knows that little 2% that's personal is personal and private.
Lee found herself under the microscope after 9/11 when she cast the only congressional vote against an authorization of military force she felt was far too broad.
Central to democracy is the right to dissent.
She was right. It was important that her community understood the enormous risk she took in standing up for peace and justice.
The film shows Lee engaging with that community. Pre-pandemic, she flew home to her district every weekend.
We make those connections, that we intersect all our policies in a way where people in my district understand what affects one affects all.
People don't see her as the congresswoman. They see her as their friend. They see her as someone who's their advocate, someone who stands up for them.
Continue to speak out, don't back down.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Barbara Lee, Speaking Truth to Power, is nominated for an NAACP Image Award and debuts today on the Starz Network to kick off Black History Month. Pretty cool. We'll be right back.
Dry and in the 50s so far. That changes here as we get into the late morning afternoon hours as we develop the rainfall first. Heavy rain then down to the south, and look at the top. There comes the snow. More importantly, the sleet and the freezing rain along I-44 early Wednesday morning. We'll break down our snow totals right after this.
We're here.
Coming up, an Independence, Kansas man faces charges after threatening the President of the United States.
And on our hands that is not worrisome temperature-wise this morning. This, however, is going to be. We've got your latest snowfall totals from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And beekeeping is generating a buzz in the 4 states as a local group helps others learn more about the benefits of this unbelievable hobby.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, more on that winter storm headed our way.
Sitting back waiting for the rain, because we're going to get the rain, Tanya, before we get anything else. So that'll be our first indicator. And as we stand right now, it's been a delightful Tuesday morning. Heck of a way to open up the month of February when you're talking about temperatures in the 50s pre-sunrise. We are seeing the cloud cover begin to build, and also of note, a little bit more atmospheric water, if you will, nothing touching the ground, but we're watching it gradually move in from the south. So the humidity a little bit higher than what we had yesterday, an indicator that that rain is on the way. That being said, when you step outside right now, here's what you're running into. It's great. 55 in Joplin, 50 in Neodesha, 54 in Miami. Take advantage of this morning, anything you need to get done, because not only is it the roads going to be a problem with the winter storm warning and the winter storm watches down to the south. Not only are the roads going to be a problem, but it's going to be brutally cold here throughout the rest of the week. So there we go. We wait on the rain to start for the afternoon hours, and then as we transition that over, we see some heavier rain for Tuesday night, especially throughout southwest Missouri. But there we go, that area in pink right there, because that is the freezing rain and the sleet. That's the ice accretion that we talk about. Accretion, just a fancy word for how much ice builds up on the roads. Snowfall up to the north, and then as everything drops down to the southeast throughout Wednesday, we get 2 rounds of snow. There's round number 1, Wednesday afternoon through the evening hour. Here comes round number 2, and because it comes in double barrel action, our forecasted snow amounts indicate anywhere from, say 5 to 10 inches there for the majority of the 4 states, looking at 6 to 8 inches, specifically in the Pittsburgh, Joplin area. I think it is very important to point out that when we talk about those numbers, that is not only snowfall, that is sleet as well. It takes just a little bit of sleet to equal about that much snow. So let's keep that into consideration. Don't go out there and drop the ruler and say, wait, it didn't get there, because chances are you're not taking into that sleet that's already packed into the ground and whatnot. And after that, like I said, look at these overnight lows. 7 and 3. Our road crews do a marvelous job. They do yeoman's work. We greatly appreciate what they do. But everything that's on the ground, roads are going to be okay. They'll get them cleared off by the weekend. But everything that's on the ground is going to stay on the ground, because we don't even have a chance to come close to melting.
Not looking forward to that. Be prepared. There you go. Scout motto, be prepared. All right, well, an Independence, Kansas man now sits behind bars in Maryland, charged with threatening President Biden. According to a court filing, Scott Merriman made threats to the president in several forms, including a phone call to the White House operator, as well as Facebook posts that are laced with biblical imagery and references to the end of times. The filing says in a telephone interview with a U.S. Secret Service agent, Merriman said that God told him to go to Washington to, quote, lop the head of the serpent in the heart of the nation. In a Facebook post, Merriman said, quote, I believe Joe Biden is the Antichrist now, and he will suffer a fatal head wound. I'll deal that blow in Christ's name. The former mayor pro tem of Purcell, Missouri, admits to stealing from the city and manages to avoid jail. In a deal with prosecutors, Nancy Wilson pleads guilty to misdemeanor stealing. Gets 2 years unsupervised probation. Authorities had originally charged Wilson with felony stealing for writing checks from the city and depositing them in her own bank account in March and April of last year. She has to repay more than $2,500 to the city. A local hospital opens once again in Bourbon County, Kansas. This means people living there will have access to a hospital closer to them. Representatives from Noble Health and the county yesterday announced they will be opening the Bourbon County Community Hospital. The hospital will be in the building of the old Mercy Hospital, Fort Scott, that closed in 2018. Officials say a design firm is working on restoring the building, which will take several months.
Bourbon County Community Hospital is going to be everything that the citizens want it to be. There were several months of one-on-one meetings between Noble Health and individuals within this community, both business leaders, community leaders, people who used to work for Mercy.
Oklahoma hospitals have called in the military for help fighting COVID-19 as Oklahoma continues to handle full emergency departments and shortfalls in staffing. Federal government is sending military medical teams to OU Health and Integris hospitals in Oklahoma City area. Officials say the help there could funnel down to our region.
That says a lot to someone to know that, okay, it may not be so easy for me today. It may not fix my problem, but someone is trying to help us out.
Military teams will be made up of physicians, nurses, and others. Students from Allen County Community College could find themselves going to the Super Bowl, all because they donated blood. On Monday, the school's Student Senate hosted its annual Red Cross blood drive. Those who donated were entered into a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles on February 13th.
They did not. I actually don't watch football, so I don't know anything about the Super Bowl. I just know the Chiefs ain't going, so.
And so with the blood drive and the shortage, I wanted to make sure that we communicate that more. And so we're able to get more people to come here, which is what happened because we filled up all of our spots.
Super Bowl tickets are provided courtesy of the Red Cross. On Monday, the Joplin Area Beekeepers Association taught some new beekeepers the basics of the trade. The group hosted a class to help beginners learn things like the ins and outs of a hive, the real job of the queen, proper clothing, and tools for beekeeping. Organizers say it's a great chance to learn about the excitement of getting to know bees.
I think just having the opportunity to work outside. So for my husband and I, this is a job that we get to do together. We get the opportunity to be outdoors, to really feel a connection with nature and to really better understand the insects that we're working with. And it's just really, it's a lot of fun.
The Beekeepers Association is hosting these classes every Monday through the month of February at the Joplin Greenhouse and Garden Center. Well, on this date in 1884, the first portion of the Oxford English Dictionary, or the OED, makes its debut. Plans for the dictionary began in 1857 when members of London's Philological Society believed there were no up-to-date, error-free English dictionaries available. Originally conceived as a 4-volume, 6,400-page work, it was estimated the project would take 10 years to finish. In fact, it took over 40 years and was finally published in 1928. That 10-volume version featured over 400,000 words and phrases. Between 1972 and 1986, an updated 4-volume supplement was published. In 1984, Oxford University Press embarked on an electronic version. It printed that 20-volume version. If printed, that 20-volume version would weigh over 137 pounds. It's been active since 2000. I love a good hard copy dictionary, though.
Can you imagine being the person or persons in charge of editing the Oxford Dictionary? No pressure, right?
Right.
No pressure.
No typos.
Oh my gosh. I've always marveled at people that just, any book that hits a New York Times bestseller list, I marvel at the people that are in charge of editing those and the pressure that they face. Never mind the one book that prides itself on not having any mistakes whatsoever.
Do you ever wish we could go back to like the old English way to spell things?
No, I don't.
I think that's my royal
I know, it is. I was waiting for you to go there.
Like canceled should be spelled with 2 L's. I'm sorry.
And yes, and I know that you would just hang out in Westminster and you just like be at the Tower of London, and yeah, I know I can envision this.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like a great fiction time travel book, and I would be like in charge of getting you back, and you'd be like, "No, Michael, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here with my people." I'd be like, "It's old England, Tanya. Come back, come back."
I'm stuck in the 16th century.
I go to 1971.
Oh, no.
Rock on, Billboard Top 40. Rock on.
There you go.
Future track for us. We'll start with the rain for later this afternoon. The big factor is going to be the amount of sleet and freezing rain that we pick up for Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning. Just know that roads are going to be treacherous. We're looking at 6 to 8 inches of snow by the time Wednesday is over.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Jasmine Kyle from the SEK Humane Society stops by to talk about furry friends and forever homes. Plus, the East Coast continues to dig out of a massive winter snowstorm. Will they have to do it again before the week is over? We'll take a look. And experts warn about a new subvariant of COVID-19, but they say there's no need to panic. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, wild dash cam video shows what police are calling a road rage shooting incident in Florida. Take a look. It was captured on Eric Michael Popper's vehicle dash cam. According to charging documents, Popper was driving on Interstate 95 in Miami last June when he allegedly changed lanes and cut off another driver, Renee Suarez. When Suarez honked his horn, Popper shouted an obscenity. Suarez then began to tailgate Popper and gestured out the window. When Suarez passed Popper, he allegedly threw something towards the vehicle, striking and damaging it. Popper told police he thought he had been shot at. In response, Popper got his handgun, fired towards Suarez's car 11 times. Luckily, neither individual was injured, and both men called police to report the incident. I wonder why he has his own dash cam. Interesting. Well, a coastal home in Massachusetts balanced precariously on stilts after a massive winter storm slammed the northeast coast over the weekend. Storm generated destructive waves that basically washed away the house's remaining foundation. Home is in the Cape Cod town of Truro, but the storm's destructive effect was widespread. Elsewhere in the state, the blizzard dropped upwards of 2 feet of snow in many areas, caused major damage to coastal communities. One neighborhood was left underwater after massive waves crashed over a seawall in Situate. Thousands of people were also left without power due to the storm. Well, millions face an icy commute after a brutal weekend of wild weather. A northeaster brought heavy snow, howling winds, and coastal floodings to much of the northeast. There have been at least 4 deaths connected to the storm. Molalingi rode out the nor'easter in Boston, where almost 2 feet of snow fell on Saturday.
The powerful nor'easter swept up the coast with raging winds, frigid temperatures, and coastal flooding.
The streets officially flooded.
Blizzard conditions were reported in at least 6 states.
We have high winds before, we've had high tides before, but it's the wind, it's the tide, it's the snow, it's everything all at once.
And more than 2 feet of snow in at least 3 states. Staunton, Massachusetts recorded more than 30 inches. Sea spray from the massive waves along the coast encased homes in Brant Rock with ice. This is a satellite photo of the East Coast Sunday morning. You could see snow stretching from South Carolina to Maine. Parts of the island of Nantucket were inundated with floodwaters. The cold temperatures even went as far south as Florida. coating some fruit in ice, and freezing iguanas.
It still looks a little cold.
Thousands of flights were canceled. On Sunday, it was all about digging out.
Backbreaking.
And for some, having fun. Well, it doesn't look like this snow is going away anytime soon. Temperatures here in Boston are not expected to get above freezing until at least tomorrow. And if that isn't enough, another storm system is in the forecast for later this week, bringing snow and freezing rain with it. Mola Lengi, CBS News, Boston.
Brr. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We've got Jasmine Kyle in studio this morning from the SEK Humane Society. Thank you for coming in.
No problem. Good morning.
I don't know where we should start. I think actually we have great news from our last visit.
Yes. So we had Mabel here last time, our little tiny German Shepherd Husky mix, and I'm very proud to share that her and her brother Sarge are successfully in their foster to adopt homes.
Yay!
So we are over the moon that the kids are in their homes, and it's just huge. So we're very pleased.
Well, yeah, that's just amazing. And we have a special dog to talk about today as well.
Yeah, so we, of course, are the SEK Humane Society. We are located outside of the city of Pittsburgh limits, and that is so we do not discriminate, meaning that we do not intake based on breed. We'll take any breed out there. For canines and felines, no horses, no llamas. We don't do that anymore. But so on our property, we have a few pit bulls, and I am a personal advocate of pit bulls. They are amazing dogs. I've had a few growing up. They have one of the best generosity features, and they can be great with kids, but they get a bad rap due to past years and years and years of neglect and abuse, unfortunately, from humans. So certain cities have a BSL, which is a breed-specific legislation, basically banning them from the city. And American Pit Bull Terriers, they are the top 10 most loved breeds in the United States now. So for dog owners and for people moving into cities, this is a huge issue with moving into areas for new jobs and such, because dogs are no longer dogs, let's be honest. They're family members at this point.
Right.
There's now insurance for them. There's now family members that think of them as an actual brother, a sister, a sibling. You know, you have a dog when you're a kid and you grew up with that dog for 15, 20 years. And it's so disheartening to see how they are still being discriminated just by their features and their muscle build. So the dogs that we shared with you today are Moki, and we call her Mama Moki because she has two kids, Dozer and Flutterbug. So
Moki.
Yeah, so that's Mama Moki. She is sweet, timid, and gentle as can be. She is a fantastic girl, and she comes as a bonded pair with her daughter, Flutterbug. So when we picked up these three, Flutterbug had a neurological difficulty. She basically walks around like a newborn deer. After several vet visits, we found out that this causes her no physical pain whatsoever, and she just needs to live her happy life.
There's Flutterbug
yep,
right there.
that's that sweet, sweet girl. So her and her mom had to be adopted out together. She can be fine on her own. It's just for that emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
So, but her brother Dozer, he can be adopted out separately, and he is a giant goofball. I love that boy. He has the biggest, goofiest grin, and he walks around with a big old trot. Look at him with his ear up. I can't tell you how many families that we have had out there, and he gravitates towards people. He comes off really big. He is a big dog, don't get me wrong, but he will come up and give you the sloppiest of kisses and the biggest of hugs. He is a sweet boy. Moki is about 2.5 years of age, and Dozer and Flutterbug are over a year now. So.
Okay, well that's awesome. Okay, so when we come back on Fox 14, I want to talk to you specifically about your fundraiser coming up for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sounds good. And hopefully we can bring those pictures up again and show those beautiful dogs.
I love them, absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, your next vaccine could be a pill. Researchers at MIT discovering a way to deliver vaccines in capsules that release RNA into your stomach. Researchers believe the ease of a pill over a shot could help convince those who are hesitant about vaccines to become more receptive. Longer periods of screen time for babies may be linked to autism later in childhood. That's from a new study of more than 84,000 children in Japan, showing that among boys, longer screen time at 1 year of age was significantly associated with autism spectrum disorder by the age of 3. For girls, however, there was no link between screen time and autism. A new spinoff of the Omicron coronavirus variant is catching some attention as it's becoming the dominant cause of COVID-19 in some parts of the world. But top U.S. health officials say no need to panic over the lineage. Mandy Gaither explains why.
It's called BA2, a subvariant of Omicron, first detected in mid-November, now identified in at least 49 countries, including the U.S.
We're keeping a very close eye on it. Looks a bit more transmissible, but not necessarily more severe.
Like the more familiar version of Omicron, BA2 has a large number of changes, about 20 concentrated in the spike protein, the part of the virus that's targeted by vaccines.
Does it evade our immune system? Does it evade the immunity that we've acquired from Omicron infection or the vaccines? Most of the evidence so far, and it's preliminary, suggests it doesn't.
A report from the UK suggests current vaccines protect about as well against this subvariant as it does the original Omicron variant, with better protection against symptoms, an average of about 70% 2 weeks after a booster.
The only thing I feel pretty confident about is that we'll have more variants. We'll have future variants. So let's begin to prepare.
Health experts say no matter what the future throws at us, we now have the tools we need to be ready, including COVID-19 testing, widespread masking, and the best protection against the virus, vaccination, and boosters.
So whenever the next variant hits, we're going to be ready. We won't have to shut down schools. We won't have to shut down our lives. We'll manage our way through it.
In the U.S., roughly 100 cases caused by BA2 have been reported from 20 states. That's according to a sequence sharing website. It does feel just a little bit cooler outside, and I've got a theory behind this. I want to test it out because I just walked in from checking out to see if we could use the tower cam for sunrise here. And yep, out on the left-hand side of your screen, that's an indicator right there. We're starting to see the shift of the wind. You'll notice the front top left-hand corner. Where it's starting to move in from the north. It hasn't made a huge difference in temps. I don't want to make it sound like it's freezing cold outside. It's still relatively nice, but I could notice the shift. That is for sure. Now we're still sitting in the 50s, so you can't complain for this to begin the month of February, but we know that February is going to bring us winter weather. It's going to bring us winter weather starting today. We've got winter storm warnings in effect. We will start with some rain for the afternoon hours, transition that into freezing rain and sleet overnight. And just know that tomorrow morning's travel is going to be a tad bit treacherous. We're going to update our snow totals of what we're expecting when we come back right after this.
Coming up, an Independence, Kansas man faces charges after threatening the President of the United States.
On the Skywatch Storm Tracker, we're waiting for some rain to develop because eventually that's going to result in sleet, and eventually that's going to result in snow. We'll have the latest on our winter storm warnings from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And beekeeping is generating a buzz in the 4 states as a local group helps others learn more about the benefits of this unbelievable hobby.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's talk about this calm before the storm.
Not too bad, Tanya. However, last time I walked outside there, you could feel the wind beginning to shift. So that's one factor that we've got in play, the cold beginning to whip in from the north. And remember, we're going to start with rain. We don't have any of that as of yet on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. We have seen the cloud cover build quite heavily throughout the course of our morning, but as of yet, no precipitation. But eventually, by the time we get into the afternoon, that's where we see it begin up to the northwest. That's about where our wind shift is currently, right? Take that line, take that Wichita KC line, and that's where we're starting to see the wind come in from the north. And you can tell the much cooler temperatures here once our rain begins. But it will remain as rain for the afternoon and evening hours. But as we get transitioned into Tuesday night, this is the danger zone right there, the pink, because that's freezing rain and sleet. As it drops down, it dominates 44 and 49 for early Wednesday morning. Plan accordingly right now. Wednesday travel concerns are going to be an issue because we're going to have ice buildup overnight into tomorrow morning. Follow that up with the snow to the north. That's where we'll see the highest amounts of accumulation. Everybody's going to see snow. For those of you that have been complaining that we haven't had a decent snow in the 4 states for some time, that tune is going to change as of tonight, because our forecasted snow amounts anywhere from, say 5 to 10 inches. They're dominating that blue area throughout the 4 states, 5 to 8 as you drop down. I do like to point out that's a combination of sleet and snow. It doesn't mean that you're going to stick your ruler in the ground and you're going to end up with that, because a little bit of sleet equals a lot of snow. And then look at this, anywhere from 9 to 13 inches in the far northeastern portion of the 4 states. Of course, we've got that winter storm warning. The big factor for today is that that's been upgraded from a watch that we still see in northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas into the pink, indicating a warning. Remember, a watch means, hey, let's be prepared for it. A warning, it's imminent, is going to happen. The snows are coming, folks. And here's the thing, Tanya. While our road crews do a marvelous job, and really by the time we get to Thursday into Friday, the road should be cleared. The ice is going to refreeze. The snow's not going to go anywhere on the ground because these temperatures are brutally cold. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and we were mentioning that usually when we get an event like this, 48 hours later, we'll find ourselves like in the high 40s, low 50s, and it seemingly melts in 2 days. This is pretty elongated as far as these temperatures go.
Okay, well, I can't wait for another warm-up.
I'm not here trying to do death, destruction, and mayhem from the Skywatch Weather Center, but like I said, this is pretty imminent. This is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Can I say something positive, like 57 for a high on the first day of February? All right. We'll take it. Enjoy it while it lasts. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, in Independence, Kansas man is in custody in Maryland, charged with threatening President Biden. According to a court filing, Scott Merriman made threats to the president in several forms, including a phone call to the White House operator, as well as Facebook posts that are laced with biblical imagery and references to the end of times. The filing says in a telephone interview with a U.S. Secret Service agent, Merriman said that God told him to go to Washington to, quote, lop the head of the serpent in the heart of the nation. In a Facebook post, Merriman said, quote, I believe Joe Biden is the Antichrist now, and he will suffer a fatal head wound. I'll deal that blow in Christ's name. Former Mayor Pro Tem of Purcell of Missouri admits to stealing from the city and avoids jail. In a deal with prosecutors, Nancy Wilson pleads guilty to misdemeanor stealing and gets 2 years unsupervised probation. Authorities had originally charged Wilson with felony stealing for writing checks from the city and depositing them in her own bank account in March and April of last year. She has to repay more than $2,500 to the city. Oklahoma hospitals call in the military for help dealing with COVID-19 as Oklahoma continues to handle full emergency departments and shortfalls in staffing. The federal government is sending military medical teams to OU Health and Integris hospitals in the Oklahoma City area. Officials say the help there could funnel down to our region.
That says a lot to someone to know that, okay, it may not be so easy for me today. It may not fix my problem, but someone is trying to help us out.
Military teams will be made up of physicians, nurses, and others. The Chiefs may not be going to the Super Bowl, but students from Allen County Community College located in Iola have a chance to go to the game. The school's Student Senate on Monday hosted its annual Red Cross blood drive. Those who donated were entered into a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles on February 13th.
I've given blood. This is my third time, and I always want to do it just so I can help people out who need it, because I would, say I was in a situation, if I needed it, I would hope that people would donate. So, just want to help people out.
Super Bowl tickets are provided courtesy of the Red Cross. Well, officials with the Joplin School District announced plans to begin work on a new 5-year strategic plan for the district. The company Opinion Research Specialist out of Springfield is collecting input about what community members would like to see, and that input comes in the form of interviews with students, graduates, teachers, and parents, as well as comments from people through an online program.
The thing that is really on everybody's mind right now is kind of that mental health component that has been impacted by COVID. That means, the stress that we've all been under the last few years is showing up in various forms. And I think there is really an acute awareness that that's something that needs to be taken in consideration.
Officials say the final draft of the strategic plan will be presented to the school board in April or May. Joplin Area Beekeepers Association Monday taught some beginner beekeepers the basics of the trade. The group hosted a class to help beginners learn things like the ins and outs of a hive, the real job of the queen, and proper clothing and tools for beekeeping. Organizers say it's a great chance to learn about the excitement of getting to know bees.
I think just having the opportunity to work outside. So for my husband and I, this is a job that we get to do together. We get the opportunity to be outdoors, to really feel a connection with nature and to really better understand the insects that we're working with. And it's just really, it's a lot of fun.
Beekeepers Association is hosting these classes every Monday through the month of February at the Joplin Greenhouse and Garden Center. Well, a lot closer to home than the Oxford English Dictionary, Langston Hughes. He was born today back in 1901. Although a native of Joplin, Missouri, Hughes and his family finally settled in Cleveland, Ohio. He wrote his first and most famous poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, soon after graduating high school. He embraced Harlem culture while studying at Columbia University, especially blues and jazz music, which he incorporated into his work with his first collection, The Wary Blues. Hughes was also known for his essays, novels, short stories, and plays, all of which focused on Black life and experience and pride in African American heritage. How fitting that his birthday is February 1st, the first day of Black History Month.
Black History Month.
Joplin native.
And one of the things that I love about Langston Hughes is because his writing is so beloved and because he lived a number of places, there's so many places that claim him as kind of like their own. Of course, Joplin does. He spent a lot of his youth in Lawrence. He went to college in Columbia, Missouri. Of course, Cleveland. It's a matter of fact, because the majority of my family is from Cleveland, I did not even realize that Langston Hughes had his original roots in Joplin until I got here, because I always associated him with Cleveland, Ohio, because they claim him as well.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I did not know that his birthday was February the 1st. Take time, folks. Take time. Read a poem, read a work, and perhaps more importantly, read it to your kids and tell them. Hey, Tanya, I spotted this when I was outside just a little bit ago. You know what that is?
Well, we are facing
east.
East.
Yeah, because it's going to come. Sun's going to come like that.
I'm not going to say the North Star, but could it be a planet?
Venus. As a matter of fact, we're about to get into this pattern where we're going to have a beautiful shot of about 4 different planets here coming up. And really this weekend, you get those cold, clear skies. They're going to be bright and visible as can be. We'll worry about that later in the week. Right now, let's talk about what we've got coming weather-wise. And see, my computer's like, I love Venus so much. I think, right, but the computer's like, no, Michael. Let's just look at Venus. I'm like, no, computer. We've got serious issues to talk about. We've got serious issues that begin with the form of rain. That's not too bad. We need the rain. Here's what we do not need. We do not need the pink indicating freezing rain and sleet that takes us through Wednesday morning. Follow that up with, there's 1 round of snow. Now look, here's 2 rounds of snow, kind of the double barrel action, if you will. And that's going to be some legitimate heavy snowfall to the tune of anywhere from, say 6 to 8 inches in the Joplin area.
Whew. We'll keep an eye on that. Keep updating you for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, tax season is here, and experts say your best shot at an early return is to file early and do it online. Plus, the Winter Olympics light up this weekend in China, but we want to know what events you can't wait to see. We let you weigh in. We'll be right back.
Welcome to
In Consumer Watch this morning, this tax season could be more stressful than usual and your refund may be delayed. The IRS recently warned of major challenges for taxpayers due to the significant backlog of returns from last year. The agency also says it faces major staff shortages. Scott McFarland reports.
Last year, Claudia Longo filed her tax return in February. When she didn't receive it in a couple of months, she called the IRS.
You would be on hold for a long time, and then maybe that call gets dropped, or they send it to a different place, and then you have to wait again.
After calling multiple times and even reaching out to her senator, Longo finally got her tax refund 5 months later in August.
I was hoping to get that money to start my daughter on orthodontist treatment, and we had to delay it.
Around 30 million taxpayers had their refunds delayed last year because of pandemic-related issues, and the IRS is still playing catch-up. The Treasury Department is warning of more delays again this year. What are some of the reasons we might see some delays this year?
Well, first of all, if your information doesn't match on the IRS systems, they'll certainly create problems.
Mark Stieber with Jackson Hewitt says the expanded child tax credit is a potential pitfall. Most parents only got half the money they were owed. The IRS is now sending out letters to help people properly file for the rest.
And that can be a little complicated. You have to fill out the form on how many dependents you have. You may have new dependents. Shared custody can create a complication.
Stieber says unemployment benefits are taxable. Stimulus checks are not, but still need to be reported on 2021 tax returns.
So make sure you understand what is taxable and what is not taxable.
The fastest way to get a refund is to file electronically and set up direct deposit. The IRS says most people who do that get a refund within 21 days. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning, talking about the Winter Olympics, as the Beijing Olympics are right around the corner. And China, of course, has strict policies due to COVID. And now you've got dozens of cases being reported in the tightly controlled area known as the Olympic bubble. Don't have any specifics on if any athletes, specifically United States athletes, have been affected. But if we do see any of that, then we'll definitely get you that news. Our question for you specifically, though, is what Olympic events are you excited about? I don't think it's any surprise that 35% are leading the way with right now figure skating. I did find it interesting that 20% came in with curling. Seems like in the past 25, 30 years, that has become a popular event for Americans to watch during the Winter Olympics. You can take part each and every morning, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, and of course the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We'll be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this, but first, a trip to the Big Apple. Check in with Nate.
Ahead on CBS Mornings, we dig into reports of a new version of the Omicron variant, plus recent changes in the CDC's isolation and quarantine guidance. Our Dr. David Agus will join us to answer your COVID questions. Plus, actress Anjanou Ellis talks with us about the Oscar buzz she's generating when she played the mother of Venus and Serena Williams in the movie King Richard. We'll see you at 7.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Lester Clarkson, Sr., who served in the U.S. Army from 1940 to 1945. He received the Purple Heart and 2 Bronze Stars. His hometown, Galena, Kansas. We thank you, Staff Sergeant Lester Clarkson, Sr., today's four-state hero.
Now, if this smile does not melt your heart on a Tuesday morning, folks, I don't know what else we can do. This is Ellie Lampy, who is celebrating her 5th birthday in La Harpe. Miss Ellie, yes, I said that on purpose. Miss Ellie, a very happy birthday to you.
All right, what a sweetheart there. And Carson Tate is 7 strong this year. Hey, he was having a super 7th birthday. What an awesome shirt.
Got his own t-shirt for his birthday.
That. Well, his birthday was on Sunday.
That's great.
That's why you got the picture in there with the shirt. With love from Mom, sisters Timber and Lainey, and Aunt Rachel. He's out in Humboldt, Kansas.
That's a cool shirt there, Carson. That's awesome, man. Cameron Burchett is now double digits. Cameron celebrating her 10th birthday. She's a 4th grader. I want everybody out in Liberal to find Cameron today and give her a big birthday wish.
All right. And Ryder Murphy turning 10 years old this year in Seneca.
Indian pride.
All right. Happy birthday from Mom, Dad, Roman, Renly, Raylan, and Nanny.
So we've got Roman, Renly, Raylan, and Ryder.
I love it.
Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad. God bless them for keeping those names straight. That's something else.
Somebody like yours.
Jemma Stevenson, she is celebrating her 12th birthday. Jemma, I want you to know that these birthday wishes come with love from Mom and Dad as she celebrates in Next City. And Jemma, I absolutely love that hair.
I do.
Gorgeous color.
All right, out in Parsons, Reagan Thompson, welcome to the teenage years. Hope you have a wonderful birthday, Reagan. Love that long hair.
Yeah, that's impressive right there. Now, I'm told that Bob Backer has a nickname, but he goes by Slider. Looks like we had a little party behind us there. Maybe that's what his biker friends know him as right there, Slider. Bob, a very happy 69th birthday to you, my friend.
All right, happy birthday, Bob. And happy birthday to Pops, who had a celebration yesterday.
Look at that.
Mr. Stephen Gentle. There he is with a little friend there. Turning 78 years old in Erie, Kansas.
Yeah, somebody's not spoiled, that's for sure. That is great.
He doesn't look too sure. Like don't jump off.
Xavier Phillips, now 16 years old. It is time to break out the driver's license for Mr. Xavier. Xavier, a very happy birthday in Parsons, and he happens to attend Labette County High School, a little Grizzly pride right there. So everybody at Labco, wish Xavier a happy birthday as well. Erwin Crum is celebrating number 74. Erwin celebrated yesterday, but I wanted to go ahead and carry it into today as well. And Erwin is in Erie. And then our good friend Nancy Bryant. And Nancy, I won't give you a hard time for not having a picture because you know that we love you. Happy birthday to Nancy, turning 71 in Chanute. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up here in just a little bit, after 2 years with no parades, no floats, Mardi Gras back in a Big Easy, we're going to give you a look behind the scenes as preparations begin and how the community feels about getting back to the annual celebration. Let the Crawdad Feast commence. That when we transition over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back right after this.
Feel the
Today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Former Mayor Pro Tem of Purcell, Missouri admits to stealing from the city and avoids jail. In a deal with prosecutors, Nancy Wilson pleads guilty to misdemeanor stealing and gets 2 years unsupervised probation. Authorities had originally charged Wilson with felony stealing for writing checks from the city and depositing them in her own bank account in March and April of last year. She has to repay more than $2,500 to the city. Having access to a local hospital for the people of Bourbon County is within their reach once more. Representatives from Noble Health and the county on Monday announced they're opening the Bourbon County Community Hospital. Hospital will be in the building of the old Mercy Hospital in Fort Scott that closed in 2018. Officials say a design firm is working on restoring the building, which will take several months. And officials with the Joplin School District announced plans to begin work on a new 5-year strategic plan for the district. The company opinion research specialist out of Springfield is collecting input about what community members would like to see. That input comes in the form of interviews with students, graduates, teachers, and parents, as well as comments from people through an online program. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Nice looking Tuesday start with temps in the 50s. First comes the rain for the afternoon hours, takes us into the night. A little bit of hard rain there down to the south and southwest Missouri. And then for Wednesday morning, the pink indicating freezing rain and sleet. We follow that up with snow all the way from Wednesday through Thursday. Pretty impressive amount totals we're looking at. About 6 to 8 inches in the Joplin and Pittsburgh areas, and doesn't taper off really till you get south of 44, and it's going to stick around. Ooh, look at those freezing cold temperatures the rest of the week.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making an easy cheeseburger ring in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM. We've got the CBS Morning News and Winter Olympics starting this week. Jamie Yukas, she's in Beijing talking to athletes concerned with the country's strict COVID protocols and how it could threaten their Olympic dreams. So that wraps it up for this Wednesday, or this Tuesday. Get ready for Wednesday. Do me a favor, get your shopping done. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's Pledge of